What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Get Bucked, episode 23. It's me and Jackson. We're back at it again. Jackson, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Super Bowl high is finally coming down a little bit, but Derby fever's picking back up. So I'm ready to talk some Turfway. I love Turfway. Always get some giant fields and really competitive racing. So I'm excited for this.
Me too. Kaitlin Free will be joining us in just a few minutes here, but we'll go ahead and get it started, and then she'll hop in to give us her opinions and her early thoughts on the sequence. Excited to hear that. Obviously, I think she's joining us for the second time now. She joined us once before to talk a little Turfway, as that's kind of where she's based out in Kentucky. So excited to get her on. But in the meantime, we have the John Battaglia Stakes coming up. It's race number 7, so second leg of this pick 5 sequence. It's kind of the local prep for the Jeff Ruby Stakes, which is the main Derby prep that takes place at Turfway Park. Obviously, you know, horses like Rich Strike, Two Phils have run in those Derby preps and have come back to have success or, you know, second place finishes and shown well in the Derby. So excited to see who shows up this year. It should be good. It's a nice looking Derby prep field. I'll go ahead and throw the past performances up on the screen so we can kind of get underway with the first leg of this sequence. First leg is going to be race number 6. Picks are up on the screen. Let me make sure I'm not on race number 6. I'm actually on race number 7, the John Battaglia Stakes, because I'm just doing it all right now. So race 6, I'm going 6-9-3. Jackson, you're going 9-7-6. So of course we got to start with the number 9 out here, and that should be hold on. As normal, we don't have our
It's Perry Oots.
Oh, it is the Perry Oots horse, or
Yes.
Perry Oots runner. Ailman, which is fitting because I got an ale right here. So Jackson, why don't you take it away? Your top pick to start us off in this sequence.
Yeah, mile and a quarter race, pretty wide open, I thought, and looking through the field, and there's just not much speed in here. There's a lot of horses that do their best running from well off the pace, and there's really only one other horse that has shown any kind of any foot, and that's besides this one. That's the 6th horse, I believe, passing game for Peter. But I'm looking at time form figures, and that horse is 30 points slower early on. So I gotta think Ailman's going to be out there winging it on the front end, doing like he did last time. Probably have an even bigger lead than he did last time, to be honest. And he ran well. I know he's going a mile, but that's a legit pace. He goes sub 47 at Turfway a couple times. That's moving, and you can tell by how strung out that field was. He ran really well that day last time. He was 6 lengths clear of the 3rd place finisher. So I'd expect him to do the exact same thing. I don't want to see him try to rein in that speed. Just send him, open it up, try to bottom out that field, and see if you can get that extra quarter of a mile. Because he's going to have things his own way in this spot, and I don't think he's going to be a favorite. I think there's some others that are going to take some money for more well-known connections probably, and this horse seems like he's got a good chance to steal it on the front end at a decent price.
Yeah, 100%. I picked this horse in second. Obviously, Perry Oots been a little cold on the board as he's 0 for 28, but has been a couple in second and a few in third. So certainly deserved a good look. And I'm with you. If this one handles the stretch out and is able to just take him along, maybe go 48 to the half, so almost 2 seconds slower, it should be in pretty good shape. Breeding, maybe not too much of an issue. Definitely the Grand Dam and Grandsire certainly love the distance, and this one seems to handle the Tapeta just fine. I just worry that this one doesn't seem to be able to kind of finish off the races. Yeah. So that's kind of what led me to my number 1 pick and the number 6 passing game, which you briefly touched on. This one, has some early pace, but not as fast as the number 9. However, I think this one has the ability to kind of pick up the pieces if the number 9 horse, Ailman, cannot kind of finish the job once again. I'm thinking passing game is going to be the one to get it done. This $500,000 purchase, bred up and down to love the distance. Peter Urton's had a good meet. So is that Chris Rowan? I'm actually not
sure what his first name is, to be honest.
I'm not either. I saw Roman and I assumed it was Evan, who normally rides out here. But anyway, so we got Roman the jockey.
Okay.
And then here we go. We got Noah in the chat real quick. We'll throw him up. Little bro, he's hosting PHP later today, and you're going to see a lot more of me and Jackson as we're going to be both on the show. Obviously, me normally doing our co-hosting duties, but we're covering the Coast to Coast Pick 5 for Saturday. So we had to bring Jackson on. We got Charlie Freeman on, and he's absolutely right. It's absolutely going to go off the rails. We're going to be never mind. But I was going to say something else. But to continue on the number 6 passing game, I think this
it is
fits.
Constantino Roman. Constantino.
Thank you. Constantino Roman. Second time at this distance with the attempt here. First time got a little tired towards the end, but I don't really mind that too much. I think this one has a chance to improve again. Nice little bullet drill coming out of that to show that he's kept kind of that form coming in, given that was over a muddy training track. But either way, number 6 passing game looks like a tough one in there for me. Jackson, any thoughts on this one? You picked one in third?
Yeah, I mean, he's lightly raced. He's the one that's most likely to see a big improvement in this spot, right? Kind of see basically paired up buyer tops to 1 point. No difference in my opinion. And he was chasing a good horse last time. Prince of Power came back. I believe he was third in the stakes race this past weekend. That got a pretty good number. I think the winner got a 98, and the horse Prince of Power came back to get upper 90s, maybe mid 90s figures. So that form was validated by that effort. He's been facing some good ones. Just seems like he's going to be in chase mode the whole time. Don't know if I love that trip over this surface, but I will say, anecdotally, it feels like these mile and a quarter races, the entire meet, have been, I don't want to say dominated, but it's been an advantage to be forward in those races. I don't think we've seen too many horses coming from way out of it and winning in these mile and a quarter races so far in this meet.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. We'll go now to the outside, the number 7, really good by Mike Maker, who is obviously, this is kind of his game, right? Is going the mile and a quarter with these horses, just makes him step up all the time. So this one he picked in second. What'd you like here?
Yeah, kind of. He's been a little inconsistent so far this year, but has kept good form. Has plenty of numbers to go back to if you look through his past performances. And last time he just moved too early. That was a really strong race where Tappet Shoes and Nyquik drew away from the field. They cleared by 10. He made a middle move and flattened out. But Tappet Shoes was also in that stakes race last weekend. I think he got 4th, but he was the only horse that made up any kind of ground from the back of the pack. So wanted to give him some extra credit for that. So it was good effort there. And he's one that I know is going to appreciate this distance, is kind of what he wants to do with that 9 to 10 furlong ranges where we see his best efforts. So I know his last 2 have been great, but I do want to give him a chance to get back to one of his good ones because his best effort does give him a good look in this spot. You got to respect these connections. Maker's really good. Irving is just firing on all cylinders. He's making all the right moves the entire meet, and he gets him light. So a lot of things going well for this horse. He's probably the one I want most as the best closer.
Yeah, you mentioned Irving Moncada going 22%, 29 wins, 129 mounts. You gotta think he's the early front runner for Apprentice of the Year when Eclipse Award season comes around. If he keeps up these sorts of numbers, this is sensational.
Well. I'd be curious to see how he does at Keeneland, because see if his business keeps continuing. Because I think synthetic is arguably the hardest surface to ride. You just it's all about timing on this track.
It really is. That's a great point. We'll go now to the number 3. My bad. That is Michaelicious, also for Mike Maker, who I have in third. And real quick, we'll throw Katie up here. Katie, thanks for joining. I'm sure we'll see you on PHP as we normally do. But Michaelicious in here. Third start on the synthetic again for Mike Maker, a nice guy. Luan Machado, who's also had an incredible Turfway meet as he normally does. This is kind of his spot to thrive. But I liked the race last time out, and again, just another one that I think has a nice closing kick, and I think with a well-timed ride, this one should be a big threat to get there towards the end. That's race number 6, and go ahead.
Go about the one super quick.
Yeah,
I thought he had a little bit of a look too. The race 2 back was really good. He just grinded away, got his nose down on the wire. That wasn't a super fast pace or anything, so I was impressed with that one because it looked like he was going nowhere and he still got the job done. Don't know what happened last time. Comes out of that same race where there's just a ton of separation from the top 2 of the rest of the field. So maybe be a little forgiving of that effort. That did come against Tougher, dropping back in for the win price. So I won't be surprised if we see him making some noise in the spot.
Yeah, definitely agree. That's number 1, Swiss Slang. And before we move on, we have a guest backstage. Of course, I'm talking about the Twinspires Simulcast host on Turfway. You see your poster picks on X for every Turfway card. And I mean, they certainly do better than, yours or mine, Jackson, I would like to say on a regular basis. This is their home track. So everybody, please welcome Kaitlin Free. Kaitlin, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for joining us. I know it's one of your few days off, so I appreciate the time here.
Of course. Happy to join you guys. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Well, I guess it's afternoon for you guys. It's evening for me, but because you're both on the West Coast, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're both in Southern California, so it's 3 in the afternoon here. It's nice and early.
Yeah, 6 p.m. here, and the weather has not been fun, I will say. in Kentucky / the Ohio area were canceled for the next couple of days. So going to be having a lot of changes, I would say, over the next couple of weeks, whether it's adding races. We do have a makeup day scheduled for Sunday, but lots going on in this area, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Saw earlier today that the card was postponed because of the inclement weather, which has kind of been a theme around the country, as the Rebel card for Saturday was moved to Sunday because of weather as well. So something you can't really control. And I mean, yeah, Jackson, how's the weather out here? It's like, what, 65 and sunny? So it's almost sweater weather out here if you really want to get down to it.
Yeah, I'm wearing my sweater, but yeah, I get cold when it's 65 degrees out, so that's just me. But it's good to see that they are, the tracks are being flexible. They are moving the dates. They're thinking ahead and getting on top of this so that we don't lose too many dates, lose too many races, and it should be good this weekend.
Should be for sure. Kaitlin, you joined us just in time to talk about the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes. We're just getting into it. We just wrapped up race number 6. Race number 7, our picks are up on the screen. I went 9, 7, 4. Jackson went 7, 10, 12. And I would be only right to go out to you, Kaitlin, to talk about the horse First Resort, who's likely going to be your morning line favorite coming out of the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club, which resulted in a win for this horse. What were your thoughts or opinions on this one?
Yeah, this is going to be a horse that is a big favorite, I will say, in this race. I'm not sure what Battaglia will end up making him on the morning line. I don't know, because there's quite a few horses he has to account for in here because we do have the 2 also eligibles. I'm going to say definitely 2 to 1 or lower. Even money is probably just a little bit stabby. But I would say 2 to 1, 8 to 5, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate coming off of the field's best buyer. Obviously, that was on dirt. Do you think at even money to 2 to 1, anywhere in that range, do you think this is a beatable favorite, or do you think this one is one that you can maybe feel confident singling, or is there another horse in this field that maybe has your interest?
I think there's maybe a couple of horses in this field that have my interest outside of First Resort. I do agree. He is absolutely the one to beat. California Burrito's been one that's been interesting. He blew the doors off the place in the last race. Baby Max, the winner of the Leonidas. He's one, of course, that's very, very interesting. California Burrito was just a few ticks off of the number First Resort ran, but coming in hot. He's ran very close to the same numbers as First Resort. Edgar Morales does especially well over this track. So I don't think second that First Resort is one that you can absolutely single. Granted, he's had good numbers over the turf, of course, over the dirt. So there's no reason to think that he's not going to take to the all-weather in race form. We'll see about the distance, but Baby Max are the 2 that I would be willing to. I think maybe the distance could be a little bit too long for California Burrito, but I'd say the other 2 that I mentioned, if you're trying to get really cute and toss out First Mission, those would definitely be the 2 I would use.
Yeah, you mentioned Baby Max. Jackson, I'll throw it over to you as that is your top pick in here. Definitely the form of Chunk of Gold. The form was flattered with his recent effort last time, but you picked this one on top.
Yeah, Chunk of Gold came back to run really well on Saturday. I think he got second to Magnitude, who just completely freaked. But he was able to beat Bill, obviously a pretty solid horse on the Derby Trail. And, Baby Max really hasn't done anything wrong. The debut at Keeneland was fine. He had some trouble going around one turn. Then they stretched him out. One against men special weights. It was too far back, but ran really well against Coco Cool, Papa Miento. Those are solid horses. And then last time, like you said, he finally won pretty easily, and he beat Chunk of Gold, who really validated that form. So he's, no reason to think he can't continue to improve. I think there's going to be plenty of pace in here. I'm looking at this field, and a lot of horses kind of want to be forward. They do their best work when they make the front end. So it seems it's going to be pretty contested pace. And he finally showed last time that he has the ability to be a little bit closer. So I think regardless if he's, 4th or 5th and they go slow, he can run well. And if they fly, he can come from way out of it. So I like that versatility that he's showing. And I think he's sitting on a pretty big effort.
Yeah, I like all the points that you made. I did end up picking First Resort on top, but Baby Max was my second choice. It was a close second choice for all the reasons that you and Kaitlin both mentioned. We'll go to the outside, to the coming in hot, another one that Kaitlin mentioned. Jackson, you have this one in second. Go ahead and say your point on it.
This is the definition of a synthetic specialist. I mean, this horse was just okay on the dirt. He finally broke his maiden against maiden claimers. Then he shows up on this on the synthetic at Turfway and freaks going 6 furlongs, wins by 5, beats a really good horse in Floodlights, and he destroyed that guy. Came back against stakes competition, exact same thing. Had a little bit of trouble in the turn, didn't bother him at all, ran right on by Touchy, and Touchy's a pretty solid horse for Wesley Ward. So this horse has been in really good form over at Turfway. Has to answer the question of can he go to 2 turns, but he's obviously very logical in this spot, and he makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, he's definitely has to answer the question going around 2 turns for the first time. However, based on those 2 last out performances, I feel pretty confident that he's going to be able to, stretch that out to 2 turns, handle it nicely, and be able to finish off those races pretty well. Kaitlin, this is the local kind of prep in the John Battaglia for the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes. Do you anticipate, or not do you anticipate, but as you kind of watch this race and then the Jeff Ruby Stakes kind of go on, do you notice that it kind of benefits horses to have a run over this track first, or do you think, some of the outside shippers that'll come in for the Jeff Ruby Stakes might have the upper hand?
It is a total mixed bag, guys. We saw a few years back Tiz the Bomb win the Battaglia and then go on to win the Jeff Ruby. Of course, Rich Strike came out of that same group, and he had form over the track before going on to win the Kentucky Derby. And then you saw a horse like Two Phils. He was able to ship in and win the Jeff Ruby Stakes without having any prior runs over the track, and then came on to run second in the Kentucky Derby endlessly. Also shipped in from out of town, but he had prior dirt and turf form, but he had never ran over the synthetic at Turfway. He was able to win that race. And then, of course, a horse like Epic Ride that continued to run well over the surface. He came out of these same form races as well. So it's really kind of split 50-50. I do know at this point that Chunk of Gold is potentially going to point to the Jeff Ruby, so he would probably be the most logical horse in that race. And then, of course, there'll be some other big names that go there, plus whoever ends up winning the Battaglia here. So it's going to be a draw.
I like. Thank you for providing that. I was just pulling up. Chunk of Gold got a 92 buyer last out, so obviously that was pretty strong running behind Magnitude over the weekend. So yeah, if Chunk of Gold comes in, that's definitely going to be a formidable horse if that form at Fairgrounds holds up. And thank you for that insight. Obviously, Turfway Park is your kind of stomping ground, as it were. We'll go to the outs. Actually, we'll go to number 12. Jackson, so you can talk about Maximum Promise, horse out of Maximum Security that you picked in 3rd.
Yeah, he's a little interesting. He's going to be a big price, drawn way out there on the outside. I think he'd be a decent price with Machado and coming off that last effort, but he did nothing wrong in the debut. He ran fine, came from way out of it, but very similar post. And then he got to the dirt and ran really well, ran off the screen, got a big number for that one. And then he wasn't seen for 5 months. And I think it was a big sign of confidence that they bothered to throw him into the comps off of a 5-month layoff. And he took a lot of money in that race. He was 7-1 and he ran fine. I mean, he was 5th. He was never getting to the winner in that spot, but that was probably just a starting point for this horse. And I feel like he's got to move forward off that effort. I don't think he's going to have any problems with the synthetic. He's run well on turf. He's run well on dirt, and he's run well on a wet dirt on a sloppy track. So I feel like he'll probably handle the synthetic as well. And he's one that I really think is going to improve in this spot. I don't know what kind of price they're going to get, and he's got to deal with that post. But at least this is the mile 16th. He has a little bit more room. It's not the mile race where there's a very quick run to the first turn. So very versatile running style, has some talent. Just got to work out a trip from that outside draw.
Yeah, excellent points, Jackson. You and I, obviously, we love to play Turfway Park on those Wednesday, Thursday cards. When there's not much else going on, there's nothing better than when 3-4 p.m. hits and it's time for the pick 4 at Turfway. But those outside posts, we've talked about it on more than one occasion. No matter the distance, those AEs, when they draw in, they always seem to, somehow get there at the end, whether they're winning or just being real close. Kaitlin, I want to throw it out to you real quick just for a question on just kind of the track profile. Turfway obviously normally plays pretty fair. Obviously, there are days where there's, different biases, but that's as with any track. What are your thoughts on, post positions and how, I don't know, it seems that, the post 12, 13, 14 seem to produce more winners at Turfway than most other tracks?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's consistently horses in those posts because we do have full fields all the time, whereas most tracks consistently don't have horses in posts 12, 13, and 14, or even 10 or 11 really all that often, but we have it multiple times a day. So it seems like they may win a little bit more times than they do because they're just more readily available in those spots. To me, the way that I've noticed it the past few years, horses from wider draws typically do better in the one turn type of races, and horses from more inside draws do a little bit better going the two-turn races, especially the two-turn miles, because the turn comes up so fast in that race that you really have to be tons the best if you're going to be wider than post 7, I would say, because in 20 yards or less, you're at that first turn. So you're almost basically starting on the turn in the two-turn mile. But anything further than that, it doesn't seem to matter as much. But I'd say wide draws are especially beneficial for the one-turn races, and then really inside posts, definitely more beneficial for the two-turn mile.
Excellent point, and love how you brought up the humble brag that Turfway Park just has the bigger fields than basically the rest of the country. You guys always put on such a great product. So that is race number 7, the John Battaglia Memorial Stakes. We'll move on next. We're going kind of in the opposite direction. We're cutting back to 5.5 furlongs, maiden $7,500 claimers. I'll throw Jackson and mine's picks up on the screen. Jackson went 3, 4, 11. I went 7, 6, 8. So we went all different directions. Kaitlin, was your opinion similar to ours in that this race was pretty wide open, as Jackson and I picked 6 different horses across the board here?
Yeah, I think it is pretty wide open. Interesting to see idiosyncrasies coming back that fast. I really liked that horse. He ran what will be a couple of weeks ago that day. Just ended up not quite getting the job done, but I think for the level, this is a horse that you're going to really like coming back. And horses that have come back off of short rest with decent enough runs have done well here. So, I mean, hate that you'd want to maybe eat the chalk in a race like this, but I do think that this is probably the horse to beat in this race, coming off of that last effort. And after having been off for quite some time, I think it's, obviously a boost of confidence for Wesley Ward to be bringing this horse back that fast again. So that's probably the direction I would lean.
Yeah, I ended up leaning in the same direction. Wesley Ward, the breeder of this horse. This horse was just claimed out of the Wesley Ward barn. I think it's just one of those instances where, even though Fausto Gutierrez is maybe not the strongest off the claim guy, coming back in this short of rest is just going to be, you're pretty much running off the training of the previous trainer. No works, no real chance to get a new routine. So I ended up picking this one on top. Jackson, you went in a different direction, so we'll go to you with the number 3. That should be Uptown Tom as your top pick. What'd you like about this runner?
Yeah, this race is only 5.5 furlongs, and they haven't carted too many of those at Turfway at this meet. And the shorter we go with these races in general, I think the more speed matters. You see these 5 furlong turf races, the speed always dominates. 5.5, it's kind of the same thing. So looking through this field, I didn't see a lot of horses that love to pass rivals. I kind of wanted the best at speed, and it feels like Uptown Tom might be it. Drawn towards the inside, blinkers going on. And cutting back. So the cutback might be the biggest hindrance to him, that he's coming out of slower pace races, but he's shown that he's more than capable of being on the lead, going shorter as well. So, I think you and I were talking about this race, Ryan, back in December on the 20th, and I said that horse couldn't lose, going 6.5, and he cleared the field like he was going to win for fun. And as soon as he hit that 5.5 furlong mark, he hit a brick wall, and now he's getting to a more realistic spot where he is going 5.5 furlongs. And I feel like he's going to be able to maybe hang on in this spot. I don't really trust this. I mean, it's hard to trust horses at this level, but I do want the horse that's most likely to be in front. I think it's going to be him, and we're going to see what he has left in the final furlong.
Yeah, I like the analysis there. We'll stick with you, and we'll go right to the outside to Storm and Willie, a horse that you also liked. You see this one coming from a bit off the pace?
Yeah, I think this is the one that if anyone's going to close, it's probably going to be him. Ignore the 2 races where he went 2 turns and just focus on the 2 sprints, because those were 2 solid efforts. He got third both times. At realistic class levels too, and came from off the pace, past some horses, especially at Indy. It's tough to close from the rail there, and he did pretty well in that spot where he was able to come up and get third. The biggest problem is obviously the layoff, but I think there's going to be enough pace in here for him where he will be able to come running late. It might fall apart for him, and if it does fall apart, I think I trust him the most to pass some rivals in the stretch.
Yeah, I like it. This is definitely a complex race. Kaitlin, real quick, while we're on this one, I'll throw it out to you. Just in terms of, obviously, we see your picks that you post every day on X, including, your best bet, your favorite long shot, your favorite, play against, everything like that. Super in-depth and really great details. What are your favorite bets as a player? Do you more, more vertical, more horizontal, or what's your kind of vibe?
I think it really depends. I think you can really do a little bit of everything at Turfway because of the big fields and kind of the different types of levels, the different distance changes every few races. So at Turfway Park, I like to do a lot of pick 4s and pick 5s for sure. But I would say other than that, the win bet at Turfway, because the pools are relatively decent sizes and you have big fields, that's certainly not going to be a lost art. So other than the pick 4s and the pick 5s, I do a lot of wins, exactas, and doubles, I would say, at Turfway. Probably my most common bet there is going to be a double.
I like it. That's a little bit of a mix with Jackson's plays and mine. I'm more the pick 4, pick 5. Jackson, the exacta and doubles guy, big tournament player over there. So, yeah, that's awesome. And I know, obviously, you love being out at Turfway. You love giving the picks, but hearing that they canceled tomorrow, or rather postponed tomorrow's card, you got to be a little happy that you get to now kind of get sit down and do a full dive into this weekend's races with Saturday being so competitive.
Yes, it actually turned out to be super beneficial, and I was a little surprised waking up to that text this morning. I guess I've kind of just been a little bit unplugged with how bad the weather's actually been. There's been a couple of days, because I live here in Louisville, that we've woken up and seen random snow on the ground, and I was like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. But I wasn't really sure how cold it was supposed to be next week. But I mean, obviously cold enough, and with so much snow and rain that we've had within the past few days, it only makes sense to do the cancellation, because I mean, it is an all-weather surface, and I know people get really, really agitated, and they're like, well, if you cancel, it's not an all-weather surface. Well, it is. We're canceling because of the fact that it's going to be so cold. The rule of thumb is that if the temperature is lower than 10 degrees, or if the wind chill is below 10 degrees, we cannot run. And I believe the forecasted low is going to be around 8. So with wind chill in the area, it's certainly going to be way too cold. So we're not running because of precipitation. That's not it at all. It's definitely the cold being the factor. But, with some road to the Kentucky Derby races overseas this week, as well as the Rebel, and then this coming up where I'll actually be on location at Turfway Park, it was definitely good to get a couple of extra days, because this is actually, and as far as the Cincinnati Trophy goes as well, these are the 2 best fields I've seen in these races since I've been doing this the past 4 or 5 years. These are really strong fields.
Yeah, they certainly are. And, obviously we're talking about a maiden $7,500 claimer, but we're about 12 horses deep in this field. Obviously have a full field in John Battaglia. So it's competitive field after competitive field. So Turfway obviously offers a great product. And yeah, the track is never the concern for the weather. It's more just the safety of the horse and the horseman. So I guess the follow-up question then, sticking on weather real quick, as you guys have had, your fair share of it. Do you notice a track bias on any particular days with weather patterns, or is it just kind of dependent? Obviously, I think the track crew out at Turfway does a really good job kind of navigating all that. As there's only been really one day that comes to mind that there's been any sort of significant bias.
Yeah, it's usually pretty even. I will say the only time where I think that there certainly can be a bias. This is a track that if it is wet, it will be a little bit more speedy and inside favoring. So that's just something that I've noticed within the past couple of seasons. That was something somebody had told me when I first started doing this 4 or 5 years ago, was this track will really tighten up and get pretty speedy when it rains. And it's certainly true because I believe I remember the day that you're talking about. It was certainly a little bit more forward early on in the meet, just because it hadn't been ran over. It had only been, worked over in the mornings and stuff like that. But the day or two that I can remember when there was what looked like a pretty forward bias on the track, it was a day or so after we had experienced significant rain.
Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was around January 16th and 16th.
Yeah, it was right after they had a couple of days of cancellations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
This Jackson's my track bias guy.
Yep. it was when there was moisture in the track coming off of all that snow, and we were getting rain that was melting the snow. So yeah, no matter how many times you go over that surface, and especially because horses weren't able to train over that track for a week in the morning. So they only got 1 or 2 training days before we ran on it. So yeah, I was not shocked a bit that there was a little bit of a bias that day.
Yeah, no doubt. That's no fault of any ground crew or anything like that. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to the track and dealing with inclement weather. So thanks as always for that, Kaitlin. We'll go to the number 6, Papa Alden, horse I picked in second. I think this one on the cutback and the massive drop in class is going to fit really well here, going to the 5.5 furlongs. I'm hoping this one just kind of sits maybe second flight. And again, if the pace setter just kind of falls back and fades into the field, this one should have the back class to hopefully pick them up. At least that's my hope here. So I ended up going with the number 6, hoping for a nice like stocking type trip. We'll swing out to the number 11, Jackson, so you can talk about this one. That should be Nobody Loves Me, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Philly going against the boys. This is more of an underneath type play. I think she has a good chance to hit the board. You got to just focus on her synthetic races because obviously her most recent form isn't great. But the dirt race, she's not as good on the dirt. The race 2 back over this surface was going 2 turns, and I don't think that's really what she wants to do either. So look at her form last spring when she was right here at Turfway, running at very similar class levels. She hit the board twice. She was third, and fourth, again against very similar horses. So if she can get back to that kind of form, I think she can, clunk up for third. I do like the outside draw. I think she'll stay out of trouble in this spot. So she's a horse I'd probably want to use in some horizontals. And just to add, watch the scratches in this race too, because if the 13 and 14 draw in, I think they're both pretty big class droppers, both had a lot of speed. It'll definitely change up the complexion of this race if those two get in this field.
Without a doubt. The 13 Party Vicious for Larry Ravelli. That was one I had 4th on mine. I didn't want to put an AE into my picks because I like to not do that, but that's mainly just a half jab at you, Jackson. But obviously Party Vicious and Canavero, if they draw in, they're going to be big threats because both of them have kind of good early foot, and both of them are plummeting in class from maiden 30 down to maiden 7,500. So both are a big threat if they draw in. So great point to you, Jackson, to keep an eye on any of the scratches. I'll go quickly to the number 8, Red Shaheen, number 8, Red Shaheen here. Another one, just dropping down the class. First time gelding for Pavel Matichka. Probably butchered that one, so sorry. But yeah, I like the gelding angle, and I like to see when they can, work out pretty sharply coming out of that. This one has a bullet coming in, given just 4 furlongs at 49.4 over a sloppy training track. But either way, I'm going to take this one second off the bench, being off since August at Presque Isle. They keep this one on the synthetic. They're going to cut him back again, and he wasn't too far off last time, adding blinkers, getting Lasix, and now obviously with the first time gelding for Walter Rodriguez, should produce a good account of himself, and I'm hoping for a half decent price on this one. So that's race number 8. I went 7, 6, 8. Jackson 3, 4, 11. We'll go to race number 9. We're going a mile for claiming 30,000 non-winners of 2. Excuse me. Let me throw Jackson Mine's picks up here. I went 11, 4, 2. Jackson 12, 5, 10. Kaitlin, I'll throw it out to you real quick. We're going a mile, $30,000 non-2 lifetime. Was there anybody that stood out first glance at the form here? Any opinions that you had?
I would say Lil's Coffee was probably the one that stood out most to me. I believe it's taking on winners for the first time, won at this distance last time out. Definitely, she's in that $30,000 level doing that for the first time. So is a little bit of a tougher ask, but horses that have form and have winning form or close to it over the surface have just been so good here this meet that you can almost blind bet horses like that and probably be in the green at this point because it's just been such a good angle. So she would be one that I would almost be keen, and I'll have to look obviously at some other parts of the sequence, but at first glance, she would be one that I would be interested in playing pretty skinny on pick 5s and pick 6s, potentially maybe even using that one as a single.
Definitely. That's excellent insight. And You mentioned horses that have good form over the surface here at Turfway. Obviously, you love to, watch horse racing from all over the country, and I'm sure out of the country as well, but we'll stay in the U.S. So obviously out here we have Del Mar, which is a big horse for course type of track. Do you think Turfway, from the ones that you kind of primarily cover, do you think this is kind of a main horse for course type track that you've noticed throughout the years?
Absolutely. And I would say probably in this 2024-2025 season, it's been more than it's ever been. Tony Kaylor, our race caller, he talks about it every day. I would say since coming back from that weather break, we have had at least one horse every day, at least every other day, and sometimes 2 or 3 on a card that are last out winners that come back to win again. So it's definitely been an angle that's been really, really profitable.
Yeah, without a doubt. Thank you for sharing that, because the Turfway form just continues to flatter itself over and over again. Jackson, I'll go out to you, to the number 12 that should be Ask Amanda. I'm going to ask you this horse for John Ennis coming in here. What did you like about this run?
Yeah, well, what I like most about Turfway is you get these races where there's 12 horses in the field, and I can make a legit case for all 12 of them, and I can make a legit case against all 12 of them. And sometimes you get a race like this where I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to go all in this race. For my top picks, I'm just looking for any kind of value. I think this horse is going to be one that probably won't take too much money drawn way out there, but there's some things to like about this horse. I think there's a good amount of speed in this race. She ran pretty well in both her starts. She can definitely pass some horses, and she's with, obviously in the Grand Motion barn, was facing better. And those numbers she earned, she did it as a 2-year-old. So I think can pretty safely project some upward improvement just, from natural progression from age 2 to age 4. So she's definitely faster than that now. Again, she can pass horses. She's getting Lasix. And the biggest question for her is, can she overcome the 12 post, and is she ready off the bench? Also, can she overcome the synthetic? Because she's never run on the surface before either. So there's some things to like about her, but I really hope that you are able to get some kind of decent price for the first time in this barn. But it is a tough post. But this is just a race where I'm on the win end. I'm really searching for value, because I think it's that wide open in the spot. I don't know what happened to Ryan, but I'll just go on. There he is.
My bad. All right, we're back. Having 3 pets in the house always keeps it chaotic. So great points on Ask Amanda. I went to the inside to the number 11, Heart-Headed Woman. Thought this one was forward for a lot of the time. Last 2 tries, drops down, claiming 30. To Kaitlin's point, had good Turfway form. Won 2 back on December 7th. Ran a decent 4th, losing by a little over a length and 3/4, or by a length and 3/4 last time out. And drops down in. I think this one fits, so I picked this one on top. Jackson, I'll throw it out to you. Ain't No Lady, the number 10.
Yeah, just another one that I think is going to be picking up the pieces late, getting Lasix for the first time, and has run well over the synthetic. Hasn't done it over this track necessarily yet, but has proven form over a synthetic surface, and is one that should get a decent setup in this spot. I don't love this horse. I think it's going to be a good price. I'm a filly that has a chance to make some noise from off the pace.
Yeah, definitely could make some noise. There's more than a few ways to go in this one. I'll go to the number 5 here, which should be Katie's Check Ride, right, Jackson?
Gem Mint.
Gem Mint.
Or Mint Driven.
Mint Driven. Gem Mint's the other horse.
Yeah. This probably would be my top pick in this race. I think, again, to Caitlin's point, her one synthetic race over this track, it was really good. If you go back and look at the chart of that race, the first, third, and fourth place finishers came from last, second to last, and third to last. And she was the only horse that was up near the lead the whole time that actually hung around in the stretch. So I really wanted to upgrade that performance because she was wide that day. She made an early move for the lead in the teeth of that fast pace, and she was able to stick around. And I thought that was a really impressive effort from her. She should be forwardly placed again in here, but not get the lead. So similar trip. She'll get first run on the closers. The layoff is a bit of a concern, but it's not a huge layoff. So I think she's one that is probably going to be pretty tough in here.
Yeah, completely agree. Those are the points on Mint Driven. My second choice was the number 4 Lil's Coffee that Kaitlin touched on earlier. Turfway form obviously flattered. First time against winners, bit of a concern, but Decent post draw here. Doug O'Neill, obviously our guy Doug from out on the West Coast, so I love to see him have some runners out there, but I thought this one fit. Last one I'll talk about in this race is the number 2, No Pardon. Rudy Brissett sends this one out. I mean, the class drop here is significant. Maybe it's a bit of a red flag that, protects this one first off the bench and then now kind of plummets down the class ladder. But I think this is just where this horse fits at this point. Broke his maiden, or her maiden rather, against maiden 50 out at Keeneland going 2 turns. So second off the bench here. Gets first time Lasix for Alex Achard. Rudy Brissett's had a pretty decent meet, having 6 finishers in the money from 15 starters, 3 of them being winners. So that's about 20% hit rate. And Alex Achard, obviously 15%. So he's always pretty consistent out here. So I think this one fits. I think he's going to get a similar trip to that 2 and 3 back, kind of sitting 2-3 lengths off the pace, and hopefully is able to capitalize and make a well-timed move towards the at the top of the stretch there. That's race number 9 on a competitive sequence. We're going a mile, claiming $30,000 non-2 life. We'll go now to race number 10, last race in the sequence. I'll throw my picks and Jackson's picks up on the screen. 6.5 furlongs, 3-year-olds maiden $30,000. I went 9.85. Jackson went 14.811. Kaitlin, we're maiden claiming strictly for 3-year-olds here for the fillies. What were kind of your thoughts going through this field?
This is a tough race. I will say that. I would say at first glance, the one that caught my attention, there's been one barn so far this meet that I've really, really enjoyed a lot of the work they've done, and that's Riley Mott. So for a first-time starter, he does decently well with first-time starters, and his horses run pretty well over the synthetic. Rafael Hernandez has been a very, very good jockey coming back here to Turfway after riding here some last season. So Tiz Glow on the outside and post 12 of 12 going the 1 turn, I thought was a little bit interesting as a first-time starter. Other than that, I will say maybe the 10 Pearl Magic at a relatively big price. Jimmy Corrigan and Yarmari Correa have been fantastic. When it comes to an ROI together, I believe their ROI is still up over $4 when it comes to runners at Turfway Park. This one's going to be shortening up in trip and coming in off the turf, so going to be making that second start. That was one that I found a little bit interesting also. And maybe just to touch on one more, ad literum, definitely going to be a big price, I would say. Andres Calleja, from, I would say, more limited opportunities from a lot of other riders. He is a fantastic apprentice and just a young rider that I've been really impressed with the last year or so, whether it's Turfway Park, it's Churchill, it's Keeneland, Indiana, where have you. He's a rider that oftentimes will factor into the money at big prices often. So he's one that I think he's potentially on a live type of a horse, I certainly will key his horses in 3rd or 4th. So just another one to think about.
Yeah, incredible analysis there. Thank you, as always. Yeah, a couple first-time starters that are interesting. One out of Jimmy Creed being ad literum, and then the one that you mentioned out of Riley Mott, who's sneaky good in races all across the board. Tiz Glow out of Tiz the Law, who's also had a fantastic debut for his first crop sire. Jackson, I'll go to you. The number 14. Obviously, this one needs a little bit of help to get into the race, but you thought this one was deserving enough to get the top pick if this one draws in.
Yeah, I think this one has been waiting to get back to 1 turn. The last 2 races especially make me think that, where 2 back she was up on the pace and just didn't quite see that out and got a little tired and stretched. And then last time, kind of the same thing, except she did it opposite. She came from off the pace, made an early move to get into contention, and the last, again in the stretch, she just didn't quite see out that trip. So it's not like she ran bad in those races either. I mean, she ran 5th, split the field both times, and those all came against maiden special weights. This is a big drop in class for her. Getting back to 1 turn is going to be big. If she does get in this race, she's drawn really well on the outside. It's a long run to the far turn and with the 6.5 furlong distance. So she'll have plenty of time to get over, get some good position. I don't think she'll be hung too far wide out there. And I just think on her best day, she's probably better than these horses.
Yeah, I agree. I think if she draws in, she's definitely going to be a big threat to this field, because I think she just seems to be running better races than a lot of these. Obviously, she's been at protected levels against maiden special weight with Brendan Walsh there, and then now drops in versus a little bit easier. Jackson, we both have the same second pick, that's the number 8. I believe it's What About Q for Doug O'Neill once again.
Yeah, similar case, coming out against better horses, Maine Special Weight Company coming out of 1 mile races, so 2-turn races where she's been getting a little tired. And I just know she's going to be forward in here. Moncada bothers to ride for this horse. A lot of things to like. She'll be very tough as well.
Yeah, should be. My top pick was the number 9 Sweet Scorecard, dropping out of restricted maiden special weight company. A Vacoma filly versus maiden claiming Jackson. You know my affinity for these Vacomas. I almost just bet them blindly at this point, but this one showed speed versus better, which is an angle I like overall. And then just the breeding to kind of get this done and to see out this distance is something I like. Not to mention first-time Lasix, normally a decent help for these runners. So obviously Tim Eggleston 0 for 22 on synthetic, maybe that might cause some cause for pause, but I like that this one's forward in a race off the drop in class. So hoping that that's enough for this one to kind of get the job done at what is hopefully a decent price. Kaitlin, I want to throw it out to you real quick. Just, thanks again for taking the time to join us here. I know you're busy. I know this is one of your few days off. So obviously, as we kind of look forward to the rest of this Turfway Park meet, John Battaglia Day coming up this Saturday. Obviously, you have the Jeff Ruby Stakes with some other important runners as a main Derby prep. Are there any other days we should kind of look forward to, or is it basically every day is like waking up on Christmas for Turfway?
Definitely the weekends. There's a lot of really fun stakes action with races that we still have to come. I think there's a couple more at least of the sprint variety races for not only the fillies but the males as well. So I think one thing that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm assuming it's going to come in stakes company based on the last race that he ran and probably sticking to the sprints, would maybe be Surly Furious. He ran second last time out in stakes company off of a pretty sizable layoff. He was a very fun horse to follow here last season. So wherever he ends up, he's one that's going to be tough to beat wherever his next start is. But there's a really good group, I would say, of the filly and mare sprinters. Over the surface, Kelsey Danner certainly has a couple. Nicest Pie ran the other day, but also, of course, those 3-year-old fillies, a good chunk of which are going to be in that Cincinnati Trophy. But a lot of good action. A lot of the allowance races turn up with some nice horses. I'd say probably on Ruby Day in the Kentucky Club Classic, we'll probably see Verstappen again. He was coming out of a turf race in Texas most recently, where he ran a pretty good second after he already won once here this season. That came in December. So still a lot of horses to really look forward to, but I think we've got a lot of good older horses on the grounds that should be showing up in some of those stakes races, whether it be in the next couple of weeks or waiting on till Ruby Day.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And again, thank you for your time. Before we get you out of here, I got to ask, I know it's early. I know it's still a little bit away, but do you have a horse that you're just kind of keeping an eye on, excited to hope that, makes the Derby gate?
I actually started posting my Derby top 10s last week on the website. They had to start doing that. And my first one that I had on the top of my list, the 1.25 miles, I think it's definitely going to be a question mark, but River Thames for Todd Pletcher has really impressed me in his 2 career starts down at Gulfstream. I know the Fountain of Youth is going to be his next target. So if he wins the Fountain of Youth, I'm very, very excited about that horse. Journalism from the West Coast, I really, really like him. There's some good Baffords this year, I will say. Barnes certainly being the strongest, and he does have a win over the surface at Churchill. But my top 2 at the moment are going to be River Thames as well as Journalism. But I think I'm a little bit more bullish on a filly for the Oaks. We'll see her this weekend in the Honeybee. I'm all in on Muhima for Brad Cox for the Kentucky Oaks.
I like it. You and I share that opinion. Muhima has been my top pick for the Oaks, along with, my other one was Cipriani for Baffert, and that doesn't seem to be coming true. But Muhima obviously has been dominant in most of her performances out there. So that's another one I'm looking forward to, assuming that she can make the Oaks gate. Kaitlin, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy, your day off today, and I guess tomorrow and Thursday as well with the postponement. So hope you're able to really dive into these cards at Turfway, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you so much, guys. Definitely going to be taking a pretty good look over the next couple of days at these 2 big cards coming up on Friday and Saturday. And don't forget, we're running on Sunday.
That's right. We definitely won't forget. Opening up and seeing Turfway Park on there is always a treat for Jackson and myself. So thanks so much, Kaitlin. Have a great rest of your day and take care. All right. Thanks as always to Kaitlin joining us. Jackson, we'll get back to it. Got a few more horses to talk about before we get on out of here. You just talked about What About Q? I think I talked about Sweet Scorecard. We'll go to the number 11, which should be Uncork It. I thought this was going to be out of Vino Rosso, but it's out of Union Rag. So that was that's what I get for assuming, I guess. But go ahead. This is your third pick.
Yeah, I'm sensing a theme for myself in this race. I have a lot of cutback horses, but I think that's the case for a lot of the horses in this field. I think there's six or seven of them that are coming out of mile races. So, this is one that has run okay on the turf, run okay on the dirt, been facing better. But the one time she did go one turn, she ran pretty well in that spot against some pretty good horses. I mean, Liam in the Dust, Impulse Buy, Dawn After Dawn. Those are all solid horses in Maiden Special Weight Company. I think a few of them are been running against stakes caliber rivals, and she got a 51 buyer in that race from an inside draw in her first career start. So maybe one turn is just really what she wanted all along. Getting back to that, it's going to really unlock the best of her abilities, and the outside draw is a plus as well. So some things to like: Lasix going on, strong numbers for the trainer, just going to the synthetic surface. So give her a look at what should be a pretty decent price.
Yeah, Byron Hughes, 30% on synthetic, 445 ROI from 20 starters. So obviously that is something that definitely catches your eye. Coming off the bench, hopefully fires a pretty good effort coming in for the $30,000 tag. Last one we'll talk about is going to be the number 5. Lost it. That should be Classic Tiramisu. That's a sweet one to end it off on. So we got, this one's dropping down back in the Maiden Claiming Company, gets blinkers on for the occasion. Trainer, not the biggest sample size for blinkers on or Lasix or any of that, but I like the numbers otherwise. 18% maiden claimer is strong, 13% for sprints and 13% on synthetic with a nice $3 plus ROI. We got Adam Beskizzle in the saddle. But yeah, basically this one's dropping down. That's another theme that I've kind of had in this one. To kind of take a page out of your book, Jackson, I didn't like any of the ones that have had face made in 30s before. I wanted, kind of that fresh face inverse here. And, our guest Kaitlin had a similar one, picking a couple of first-time starters that caught her eye. And then obviously you and I, shared similar views with, I believe all of yours are dropping down as well. And a lot of yours are cutting back. But yeah, it's just about getting, to a surface. It just kind of wakes those horses up. So I thought Classic Tiramisu had a shot. This is a very deep and competitive race. I wouldn't feel comfortable really with any, even with the all button, it would still kind of, I'd be wondering what price I'm going to get on the winner, because it could be one where the favorite just kind of goes around and wins, or you could get something, something goofy as often happens at Turfway Park. But yeah.
The favorite's going to be Ghost Tapper for Brad Cox. So we don't have her anywhere. I don't know, been favored all 3 times and well beaten favored all 3 times. And they keep plummeting her in class. Now big layoff. I let the horses like this beat me.
Yeah, this screams fade. I'm right with you on that. This is not the kind of Brad Cox horse I want to beat. I know Luan Machado's in the saddle. That's going to obviously attract some money. This horse is probably going to go off at 2-1, maybe 9-5. But this is just not a horse I want. I mean, Ghost Zapper, you got to imagine that the hope was to get this one around 2 turns. Clearly doesn't like the 2 turns. They're cutting this one back. I mean, they're plummeting this one down in class, going for, 20% of what the tag was last time out for maiden 150, now in for maiden 30.
Good man. Good job.
Yeah, look at me. I got it. I can't count when there's no post positions, but I can do math every now and then. So, I mean, I know this is, a favorite, but this is one where I would go all but the favorite if I could. And my ticket allowed, because this is one where I don't think this horse really has a shot, or any more of a shot than any of the other horses we've just talked about. And this has so many red flags. I don't want to take a short price on this horse. So, agree with you. Thanks for mentioning the favorite here, Ghost Tapper. It's definitely one we should talk about before we go ahead and throw our pick 5 tickets up. But that's race number 10. I went 9-8-5. Jackson 14-8-11. I'm putting up our pick 5 tickets now. As we talk about these to get out of here. Jackson, you have a $72 ticket. I have a $42 ticket. Why don't you take us away?
Yeah, I'm starting to, the more we talk about these races, this is why I like doing this, because the more we talk about it, the more I rethink it. But Yeah, that first race I do feel good about. I think I have the two best speed horses in a race that really lacks any kind of pace in there. So I'm hoping they kind of just run around the track there. But if not, I also have the 7 really good. So I'm going to try to get home with just those the three that we talked about. I'm going to single Baby Max in the stakes race. I think he's sitting on a big effort. I think he's shown that he can get a good trip no matter how the pace shakes out. And it looks like it's going to set up for him. So I think he's got a good shot in there. I think we're going to see some improvement out of him. In that 8th race, going with the best of speed, Uptown Tom, and then the best closer, I think, in Storm and Willie. And again, that's a race that's going to really depend on the scratches because those two AEs, if they draw in, they're going to really shake up that race. So, going to keep an eye on that one. Hitting the all button in race 9. If I had to press up someone, it'd probably be the 5 and 12 that we talked about, but don't feel great about it. But if I go skinny there, it's a really small ticket, so I can do that maybe once. And then the last race, I'm just going to use the 8 and the 14. And the one I'm thinking about just singling the 14 maybe. The more we talk about it and the more we went through that race, I think the horse has a really good shot. He just needs to get a little lucky to get in the race. But if he does make the starting gate, he's got a big shot.
I agree.
And he's got a big shot.
Yeah, I agree. She's got a huge shot if she draws in, dropping off the class ladder first time in the barn of John Ennis. That's certainly going to be a formidable horse and one that's going to take some money. You got to imagine maybe 5-2, but that seems like a pretty fair price on a horse like that when you know that Brad Cox Ghost Tapper is going to get hammered at the windows. So $72 ticket by Jackson. I like it. You and I kind of built our tickets very differently. I would say I'm single. No problem with that at all. I love talking through these races with you as well because you have a good, kind of difference in opinion. So I feel like we cover a lot of viewpoints when we go over these sequences. So I'm starting off by singling the number 6. That is the Peter Urton horse. Name is escaping me, but we talked about this one. 4th career start. This is a $300,000 purchase. 2nd time trying the 1.25 miles. Obviously some expectations. So I like the stretch out. This one should just kind of sit the nice pocket trip. I'm hoping the jockey makes a nice move coming around the far turn. Go ahead, Jackson.
It's Passing Game is the name. Which
passing
is ironic
game,
because your team has no passing game.
My team has nothing. My team only has a quarterback with accusations against him. So
and
that's
now
all
you
we
have
got.
A defensive end either because he's getting traded.
Yep, he's Myles Garrett getting traded probably to the Eagles. So honestly, hey, I wouldn't be upset. So all right. Anyway, gonna single the number 6. Go Birds. We're gonna hear this for the rest of time. But rightfully so. They knocked off the evil villains.
Until the end of Delmar is how long you guys have to hear me talk about.
Oh, shit. All right. So, get a single passing game to start. Then next, and then John Battaglia Stakes. I'm going pretty deep. I'm going 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. Obviously, your favorite First Resort. It's kind of tough to get by, but I think you might be able to beat him in there. And obviously I don't love spreading and using the favorite kind of defensively, but I like, I have 2 other singles in the sequence. So I felt confident enough to include them in there, but I think that's a really deep race. And oftentimes you can see those horses come in from, dirt tries or turf tries and they can try the synthetic. Maybe they don't like it. Or sometimes they jump up and run, a really huge figure. So I wanted to incorporate a little bit of everything. Some horses with synthetic form, some with turf, some with dirt coming in here. Next race, for the maiden $7,500 claimer going 5.5. I went 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 13. 13 is an AE. We also spoke about that one. Going to need some luck to draw in, but certainly looks pretty tough if that one gets into the body of the field, especially from that outside post going the 1 turn. Next, I'm singling the number 11 Heart-Headed Woman in a claiming $30,000 non-winner of 2 lifetime, which may seem a bit silly, on face value, but these horses' last 2 efforts, I think they win here. A 69.72 buyer, has tactical speed, was only a length and 3/4 off the winner's circle last time out at 50,000 non-2, lost to Graham, who is a very decent horse in his own right. So I like this one. I think if Heart-Headed Woman just kind of sits that same trip, I think this horse is just better than these. Tom Drury is hitting at 32%, so wicked hot. 7 winners, 22 starters, and then 5 other in the money. So I'm going to take the hot hand and the hot barn. I'm hoping for maybe, a 5-2-ish price on this one. I feel like that might be fair. And then in the last leg, I'm going to go 8, 9 in there. And if the 14 draws in, I'm definitely going to throw the 14 in on my ticket because that one is certainly, in my opinion, the horse to beat. I know the favorite's going to be Ghost Tapper, but 14 is probably the horse to beat just based off those figures that you see versus the maiden special weight field. So I'm going 8, 9 on this ticket just because we don't know if that 14 is going to get in there. But obviously things are subject to change. I want to pay attention to the early part of that card, see, coming out of all this weather that they've had out at Turfway. Maybe, Kaitlin was just telling us after the weather is typically when you kind of see those biases. When the track is wet and you see it tighten up, it typically can favor speed, typically can favor towards the rail, as we saw January 16th and 17th.
15 and 16.
15 and 16. Damn, whatever.
And I think the 28th too. There was whatever that Thursday was the last week of January.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a bias, but yeah, this guy, he needs to open a track bias site because he's got the eye for it. I half-ass pay attention to it, but I can't remember the dates. I can, so that is what it is. But yeah, that's a $42 pick 5 ticket as we kind of ramp up towards an excellent weekend. Obviously, for anybody that didn't hear, bummer news this morning. Magnitude is off the Derby Trail with a bit of an ankle chip coming off that 109 buyer. And then in good news, though, Rebel Day was postponed, but it's only postponed till Sunday. So I love having a good Sunday where we get a high quality stakes field. Santa Anita does a really good job, in my opinion, of putting, they typically have like the fillies and mares kind of run their big stakes for the older ones, especially run them on a Sunday. Thinking about like the Lost Virginess and the Baffle we often have a good kind of Sunday race day out at Santa Anita. So I love to see a Derby and an Oaks Prep be run on a Sunday at Oaklawn. That's just going to, up the handle. They're probably going to have a huge day, but obviously a deeply competitive card. And speaking about the Rebel and the Honeybee, be sure to tune in on Thursday as Jackson, myself, and Kaylee are going to be doing Big Hoof Energy. We're going to be doing the late pick 4 at Aqueduct this Saturday. And then we're going to give our opinions on the Honeybee and the Rebel Stakes. Obviously, Muhima in there drew the rail for Brad Cox. That's my Oaks horse. So, quick little spoiler in there. And then we have a really deep and competitive field in the Rebel with Matticat Road, among others. But it's going to be a really, really great weekend for racing. Jackson, what are you most looking forward to before we get on out of here?
Definitely that Oaklawn card is ridiculous. I'm actually kind of glad they moved to Sunday because I do think this Turfway card on Saturday is really, really good. So now I can kind of just focus on that on Saturday. Then Sunday I'll have Oaklawn because look at the overnight. Every single field is just 12 horses, 13, 14, 14. And they're like competitive. It's not like there's a giant favorite in these races. Like there's going to be some opportunity this weekend.
There certainly is. And, to get the weekend kicked off Saturday morning, pretty much for everybody, depending on where you're at in the country, it is Saudi Cup day. I love that day. I love waking up and just turning on, the FanDuel TV or TVG or whatever it is. And, whatever streaming you want to use and just watching those races. They're great. They're high quality races. You have the Saudi Cup coming up. I know there are going to be some bigger American names that didn't end up making it, like Sierra Leone. But you have Rattle and Roll coming off a really nice win. You have Romantic Warrior, who's going to be trying the dirt for the first time, who is the hands down has been the top probably horse in the world. I would say coming in here as far as, consistency and everything goes, and just dominant wins after wins. You have Forever Young coming in. It's going to be a great day of racing, whether you bet it or whether you just like to watch for the love of the game. I'll be doing a little bit of both. But I love Saudi Cup and Dubai World Cup Day.
I think Straight No Chaser is running as well.
Yes.
The sprint race.
In the sprint, yes. So I got to take a full deep dive look at the card because obviously it's deeply competitive. You have horses from all over. It can get confusing if you look too long, but at the end of the day, it's just fun to watch those races because it's all the best horses in the world coming together for a buttload of money. So you got to love it when top class talent shows up. But to stick with the Turfway card real quick, deep and competitive, excellent sequence. There were the pick 5 tickets. Thanks everybody for watching. Jackson, we'll be back on Thursday, and for everybody that tuned in, make sure you hop over to the HHH Racing channel, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, as we are going to be doing Pacific Horse Players. Jackson, myself, our host Noah Maher, and Bet and Booze and co-host Charlie Freeman will be going over the Coast to Coast Pick 5, all turf Coast to Coast Pick 5 for this Saturday between Gulfstream and Santa Anita. So difficult sequence, so make sure you come and get the 4 of ours opinion. I'm sure that that show is going to be super mild, not off the rails at all. There's just no way we get crazy over on the HHH because that would just never happen, right?
Never. It's never.
No, never.
Not once.
Yeah, and no. It's always just a classy performance. Just kidding, guys. We get buck wild out there. So, everybody, thank you for watching. Take care, and we will see you next time.